Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com here with the wrap-up video for the Playing on a Budget Mono Green. Now, performed pretty well. We went 2-2, which is awesome. That's for a budget deck that costs absolutely nothing. You scrounge up for commons and uncommons, basically, and some rares that don't cost over $3. I'll take that any day. But what I want to focus on right now is how I would evolve this deck. Your cheapest option to make this deck into a more competitive deck is probably stick with the mono green strategy. And how you would do that is the first one is Polychronos. You'd want to bring in Polychronos the World Eater and Knight those Shrine to World Eater. Knight those Shrine to Nyx would be another card you want to bring in. And apparently my Magic doesn't want to cooperate. Oh, I know why. Hey, look, I've got these mana symbols here. Let's see. Where's creatures? All right, so Polychronos. What makes Polychronos and Nykthos Shrine to Nyx so good is this becomes almost kind of like how Bonfire was. You can generate an insane amount of mana between. You take out the Gyre Sages probably for Voyaging Satyrs. And, in fact, if I were to go this route, though, you'd want to go into the red, and you run cards like... They use triple Planeswalkers. They use Domri. They use the Satyr Planeswalker, I can think of Xenagos. And they also use Garruk. But, I mean, you're into an actually expensive deck by that point. It's like $300. You can go check that out. I'm sure someone's covered it on Gathering Magic before. It is a red-green Devotion deck that basically focuses around Polychronos the World Eater and just generating a ton of mana. And I've seen some of them use Clan Defiance as another sort of win condition. And there's that red version. Now, you can also, if you don't want to go the Devotion route, probably the cheapest way to evolve this deck is to put in Lightning Strikes. So let's reset this here. Lightning Strikes, which are the new Searing Spear, the 3 damage for 2 mana. And so Lightning Strikes, Magma Jets, Shocks, and then you kind of go like a red deck wins, but instead of the red creatures, you're focusing more on the green creatures. So you can keep in like Brushstrider, but you could actually go Goros Chainwalker, or you could actually go Firefist Striker, or a few cards you could go. But what gives the advantage is you have access to Gorklan Rampager, which is just an exceptional card right now, especially against other red decks that, in response to your attacks, try to kill it. But I mean, +4/+4 and Trample is very relevant in the format. Especially like that big Boros deck, you saw the board get clogged, and there was no way for me to smash through. And that's what Rancor used to do with these green beat stack back in last Standard. But the best option right now is the the Gorklan Rampager. So that is definitely an option. But then when you're splashing red, that means you got to pick up the Stomping Grounds and the Temple of Abundance, which can get a little bit pricey. So another way you could go is with the Witchstalkers, you can go in Flinching Courage. You could go in the green, or white. But white gets very expensive because you probably want to go into more of a hexproof type list. And if that's the case, then what you do is you actually need Voice of Resurgence and also the Advent of the Worms, which can get very pricey. And again, now you're into Temple Grounds, and we don't have a Scryland or a double-colored Scryland for green and white yet. So that might be what's holding back these green-white aggro decks. But it definitely is an option. And Dryad Militant is still a great card in that deck. I mean, you could not even go the hexproof route. You just put the Infliging Courage kind of in the sideboard, or is another way to smash through. Because again, it's another card that has Trample. It gives a card Trample and Lifelink, which is really good against the big Boros decks. A lot of times it's very hard for them to come back from that. And if you slap it on a Witchstalker, they're pretty much good to go. And then again, Advent of the Worm is a very, very good card, especially right now. I mean, it does die to Doomblade. There is that, but it's got a pseudo haste effect as you can flash it in at the end of turn. So I'll just bring that up for you guys to look. I'll show you the focus cards for each of the colors if you were to splash a color. So you'd want Advent of the Worm. There's your that would be your staple card if you're going to go in the Selesnya colors. And then you have cards like Unflinching Courage. And I'm sure there's some other options that... Courage. Do I not even have any Unflinching Courages? There we go. I just have to check off this My Cards list. Alright, so Unflinching Courage here. +2/+2 lifelink and trample. So, very good card to put on Witchstalker. Alright, so that's Selesnya. Then you could go into the blue, and the ones that I've seen go into blue use either Master Biomancer, which is another way to smash through, or the Prophet of Krufix, which gives all your creatures flash, and you get to untap all lands during your opponent's turn as well. If you're going to go that route, you probably want to go bigger, though. You can go into bigger cards. Cards like Prime Speaker Zagana. And this is probably, in all honesty, since Breeding Pool and the Temple of Mystery are the cheapest of the lands, this is probably the route to go to if you're trying to stay on the best budget. Either this or Selesnya, I would say. But Prime Speaker Zagana is pretty good, especially with... Like, Reverent Hunter into Prime Speaker is really nutty. Or if you even play the cards like Kalonian Tusker, that's 4 cards you get to draw off Prime Speaker Zagana. And with the Prophet, with having a lot of mana, it makes Prime Speaker Zagana get you so much cards. And eventually, you'll have to find a finisher still. I mean, that's the kind of the problem. I've seen a lot of players use Cyclonic Rift. And again, you're going to the Shrine of Nykthos Shrine to Nyx is the card that you're probably going to be needing to invest in most. As it really, I mean, your deck isn't a devotion deck, but it sure can be pretty easily, especially with the Reverent Hunter. So now we've got those colors out of the way. So there's one color left, and this is the color that has seen the most success, is the Golgari, because it just works so smoothly with this type of deck, with this sort of this aggro deck, because you have Abrupt Decay to kind of break up. They're like Frostburn Weird is a card that's kind of hard for this deck to get by because it can block any one of your 2-drops. And Abrupt Decay takes care of Frostburn Weird. It takes care of the Boros Reckoner. It takes care of the opposing Night Veil Specters, Detention Spheres, Underworld Connections, the Ash Zealots. I mean, I could go on and on what Abrupt Decay does. And you also have access, speaking of the Esper matchup, you have access to Golgari Charm, which is, in my opinion, a very underrated card right now. The -1/-1 is very relevant when your cards become bigger than theirs and survive, and this happens a lot. Like, Brushstriders you probably would want to cut, but I mean, you have access to cooler cards, maybe like Lotla Troll, and you wouldn't want to be going to Burning-Tree Emissaries. I mean, it's still an option. The Golgari Charm can act as a board wipe against plenty of decks, like Elspeth's. A lot of times you can kill all their tokens and swing in for the win. Or even like Assemble Legion or Master of Waves is the big one. Or even Young Pyromancer. Cards like that, you can it can be a one-sided board wipe a lot of times. But the Destroy Target Enchantment is very relevant in the format. Again, we have Biden Thassa's, we have Underworld Connections, we have the Whip of Erebos, we have Detention Spheres, Assemble the Legions, the Chain of the Rocks. There's so many enchantments right now that are relevant. And then this Regenerate Creature Control is very good against Anger of the Gods. It's very good against Supreme Verdict. It is also very good against bashing in and your opponent thinking he's going to be able to trade favorably, and then just regenerating all your creatures. Or vice versa, Red Deck wins attacks with everything, you regenerate them all, and on the backswing, you kill them, like that Mizzy Mortars. That matchup versus Big Boros getting blown up by Mizzy Mortars could be prevented with the Golgari Charm. So, and then the coolest thing that you actually get with this deck is going to be the Dreg Mangler, which just curves out perfectly. I mean, our 3-drop is a bit loaded as it is, but I mean, Witchstalker could be something you could switch out for Dreg Mangler. I don't know if I'd do that. The hexproof is so good on a 3/3, but Hunter, or you could just go more 3/3, more 3-drops. And if that's the case, then you could actually put in the 1-mana Accelerant instead of a Dryad Militant in the form of the Mystic, the Elvish Mystic, to try to ramp into just go 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And that definitely isn't a bad strategy either. If I were to go any strategy I would probably go this way because we have a Varls as well that could definitely be good in this deck. And I've actually seen quite a lot of success with some graveyard decks that use green black to fill up the graveyard for both Varls and Jared Lich Lord. And again, it just gives this deck the reach that we didn't see, especially that Maze's End deck. We had no way to deal with the Maze's End. A card like Jared, gives us an answer for the Maze's End deck. And let's pull this dude up. Let's see. That's going to be way too many. This is Lich. Let's see. Let's find him here. Wow, there's a ton of legends now these days. All right. There he is. Golgari Lich. Dryad. Okay. So this dude, the sacrifice another creature, your opponent loses life, equal to sacrifice your power. Very, very good with like Reverent Hunter. Very good with even cards like Deadbridge Goliath. Or what they do is they Varls scavenge everything back, and then you can sacrifice stuff and just do direct damage to the face that way. So I mean, there are the point I'm trying to make with this long-winded wrap up is this shell can basically put in any splash color and probably be a better strategy than what we showed here. Now, I guess I'm going to just come back to talking about the deck. Definitely the MVP of the night was Enlarge. I'd definitely go up to 4 of if you're going to try to play on a budget here. And Witchstalker was amazing. Witchstalker was another one that was very, very good. Burning-Tree Emissary was a little bit underwhelming, but I don't think we got to see the power of it going into Burning-Tree into one of these. And maybe the right move is to go up in Brushstriders and maybe even just cut Dryad Militants completely. Just go experiment once, and then you have 4 spots for 2 drops, and you can go up in the Brushstriders, and then you can still even keep 2 Dryad Militants and just go 6 and then a ton of this 3-drop spot, because then it really sets up a Reverent Hunter on 3rd turn to quite possibly be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 6/6 on turn 3, which a lot of decks can't even handle. That's a Desecration Demon. That's kind of the same thing a Desecration Demon does on turn 4. So yeah, that's probably one of the changes. So let's just look at this. So Dryad Militant in for 2 more Brushstriders, or you could even make the argument for completely taking these out for Mystics, because again, we could just ramp into a 2nd turn Witchstalker and then into a 3rd turn Reverent Hunter, which is again going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. It'd be a 5/5 on turn 3, and you already have a Witchstalker out or a Boon Satyr. So, and then it helps with enlarges and whatnot. So that 1 extra damage on the Dryad Militant might not be justifiable over an Elvish Mystic. I did not like the Nylea's Disciples. In fact, I don't know of a matchup where I'd actually want them. And same with the Rubblebelt Raiders. Both of these just felt awkward. Deadbridge Goliath felt okay as a 2 of. But again, you could go in Nylea. Nylea is a very inexpensive god, and it gives this deck a lot of range. And you could actually go into the Shrine of Nyx as well, and it'd give this deck a lot more reach as well with Nylea, because then you could just dump the excess mana into the +2/+2, which isn't bad. Other creatures could draw trample. That's awesome as well. And she probably is the necessary, the remaining link. You can throw these into the Deadbridge Goliaths. Again, you would have to have the Devotion for her to actually evolve your Experiment 1 or the Sages, but a lot of times it's not hard to hit Devotion. We saw that. And whatnot. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a good experience for me. You know, a lot of times I've been flirting with that $100 budget mark, and I know I do have people out there that can't even afford the $100 budget, or just brand new into Magic and really would want to get the best bang for their buck. And this is probably what I'd recommend at this moment. Again, you saw it can hold its own. We went 2-1. Or at least 1-2. We didn't get blown out by any match. I mean, the Maze's End was a little bit embarrassing, and as well as the Big Boros was close, though. The Big Boros was close both games. It was just 1 card off both times for between a victory and a loss. So, and this is $20. It's $20. You could probably do well in FNMs. You can get some experience down. You can get back into Standard if you've taken a hiatus from Magic. And this is exactly what this show is trying to showcase. So I hope you enjoy this. I appreciate the comments. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to shoot me them. And yeah, I've enjoyed this. This is Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.
For more Magic the Gathering videos, come check out my channel at YouTube/RogueDeckBuilder. Thanks for watching.